Today I'm going to show you how I made this beautiful dress for a teen girl that made heads turn on her graduation. So I am going to make this video into two parts, and don't forget my name is Imelda aka MC. Welcome back to my channel. Alright, so I am drafting the pattern and I am going to mark my bust points, my chest line, my underbust, my waistline. Okay, these are the vertical measurements needed for the upper part of this dress. Okay, so I am going to draft my front and back pattern on this same paper. All right, next I'm going to go with my bust span, that is my nipple to nipple measurement. I'm going to mark it on my bust point and on my waistline. Okay, and I've connected it on a straight line. So I am going to go over to my shoulder and mark 4 inches, that is the basic measurement, and then after the 4 inches I'm going to mark my shoulder excess eradication. For this very bust, I am using 3 inches. Okay, that is her excess eradication. If you want to get a full detailed tutorial on how I got the 3 inches for this person, go over and watch my basic pattern tutorial. I have posted it on my channel before and you can watch it. Okay, so I am going to divide my bust into 4 and I marked it on my bust line, and then on my waistline I divided my waist into 4 and marked it there as well. And after that I used my pattern ruler to connect the lines. All right, so after connecting that line I went over to that bust band that I marked before, and I marked 1.25 on the side facing the towards the side of the dress of the pattern, and then towards the center front of the pattern I marked 0.75. Okay, and then I connected it just the way you are seeing on the screen. You can see that the butt shape is already taking effect. Okay, so on my waist you can decide to use the usual 0.5 inches that we usually use for waist that. Okay, but here I am marking the same thing I marked on my under bust. I am marking it on the waistline. All right, like I said, it is up to you how you want yours to be. For me, this is not a fitted top, so this is just a dress. I'm going to add something on the waist, so there is no point doing the half-inch thing on the both sides of the waist. So after that I am marking my allowances. Okay, on the waist I marked 1.5 for allowance, for sewing allowance, and then whatever I got on that I got on the waist, I measured it and marked it on the waist as well. But for my bust line I marked only 1.5 inch for my allowance. Okay, half inch for lining. Okay, half inch for lining and 1 inch for sewing. I am still going to add extra half inch when cutting for ease. All right, I do this on all my dresses that I cut with pattern. So on my shoulder I am going to, you see that I already closed my shoulder dart. All right, I closed that eradication that I got there before, and then I marked my shoulder line and then came down by 1.5 inches and indicated it, and then I marked a straight line to the center front of the neckline, okay, of the shoulder. All right, so after that I am going in again with my shoulder line to be sure that it is correct, and after that, after marking that, I am going to connect to my armhole. Okay, I'm getting my armhole curve. All right, so you can see that there is a place on that ruler where the number writings starts there. Just place it on where your bust divided by 4, where it is. Okay, just look closely. You're going to see how I place the ruler, and then connect your armhole. This video is going to have a 2 parts, the cutting part and the sewing process. So for my back pattern, I'm going to start by marking my zip line. I marked 1 inch on the shoulder line and 1 inch on the waist, and then I just connected from that shoulder line to the waistline. Okay, so this is my zipper line, zip allowance. All right, so after that I am going in to mark my bust divided by 4 and my waist divided by 4 as well. All right, so after that I'm going to connect just the way we did at the front. After connecting the side of the pattern with your pattern master, next we are going to mark our bust span as well for the after dart. That we are going to impute our dart here. So I marked it on the bust point and then I marked it on the waist as well. And then I went in by half an inch on both sides. Okay, I went in by half an inch on both sides, and then on both sides of the waist, and then marked it on a slanted form and a triangular form, slanted form, whichever way you may understand. So I marked it to the bust point. So the darts I used on my waist on this back, you can see that I used 1 inch only, and then I marked my 1.5 inch as well. That makes it 2.5 inches for waist allowance. And then for my bust, I also used 1.5, just as I used on the front. So for the shoulder of this back, it is not going to be the same way we contour the front that we are going to contour the back. We won't do the same thing we did for the front. So I just did a regular shoulder and marked my shoulder, came down by 1.5 and marked my shoulder as well. And then after that, I'm going to use my French curve to connect my armhole for the back. Okay, so remember the pattern master is for armhole for the front, and then the French curve is the armhole for the back. Okay, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and comment, okay, for more interesting tutorials. So that is that for the back armhole. I am done now. I'm going to determine the neckline for the front and the back. Okay, depending on the style that you are doing, it's going to determine the neckline you're going to choose. So for this very neckline, I used 4 inches for my neck width. Okay, I used 4 inches for my neck width, and then I'm using 5 inches for my neck depth. Okay, and then I'm going to use my French curve and my pattern master again in the inside. Okay, I'm going to use it to curve my neckline. So this is my neckline for the front. Okay, so for the shoulder darts, we are using shoulder dart for this for the padded. Okay, you know we have princess dart and shoulder pad. So for the shoulder pad, after marking your neckline, whatever is left for your shoulder, you're going to divide it into two and then connect it back to your bust point, just as you've seen on your screen. Okay, that is that for shoulder pad, and that is that for front as well. So for my back pattern, we are going to come back and use the same width that we used for the front, that is 4 inches, and then use 4 inches for the neck depth for the back as well. Okay, so and then I'm going to connect it like so. All right, so now after connecting my neckline, I'm going to make it a straight line on that zipper part. Okay, I'm not going to make it curve. All right, so I'm going to start cutting out my pattern. Okay, so I'm going to cut out my pattern for the front and the back. All right, so for the back, I also did zipper eradication. I already posted this on my channel before as well. So if you do not know how to get your zipper eradication for the back, please do well to look it up on my channel. So I'm going to close the back that as well. Okay, not going to cut through for my back pattern. I'm not going to cut through the way I cut in the front. So the back pattern is only going to have only one pattern, while the front is having two because of the padded. And that is that for the drafting of this pattern. Okay, I'm going to go ahead now to cut my fabric. All right, so this is my fabric, you guys. I already cut out the lower part, which is the flare. I remember to add your allowances. Okay, the half an inch on both sides are for ease, and then for joining for this is the front, and then I added half an inch for joining on that place where I removed the darts. Okay, and then on the lower part, on the waist part, I added 1 inch for joining to the lower part. Okay, so now after cutting, I've cut out my pattern. All right, next I'm going to cut the pattern I need to use to cut my wording. All right, you know that wording that we are going to make into a cup. Yeah, so on my allowance I came in by 1 inch. All right, you can do 1.5, you can do 2 inches depending on the person you are working with. On my bust point, I'm going to come up by 3 inches. Okay, 3 inches just fine for the size of the bust, for the bust I'm working with. Okay, her round bust is 32. So on my, I'm going to connect the cup like so. Okay, this is the cup for the wording I'm going to cut out. All right, so just curve it the way I am curving it and you are good to go. So for the center of that front, the center part of the front, I am going to make sure that wherever the I went up on the other side of my that of my pattern is matching the center front pattern. Okay, that is what I did there. I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to everyone who has been subscribing, liking, and commenting on my posts. I do really appreciate it. Your kind gestures is the reason why I try to make more videos and really appreciate that. Thank you all so much. Now back to the video. All right, so I'm just going to take it on a slanted line. I can take it on a straight line, I can take it on a slanted line, whichever way. Just make sure that it is not getting to the neckline. Okay, still have something left for the neckline, and remember that the mark is going to end at just the underbust. Okay, the underbust. So I've cut out the pattern for the side, and this is the center. I'm just going to cut off from the underbust as well, and then cut off that part where it will be on the chest line. Okay, so and that is that for this is what we have. I'm going to use it to cut out my wording. All right, so for my wording, I am using a very soft wording because this child is just very small and she doesn't need much on her, but she doesn't need any weight, she doesn't need cup, she just needs this soft wording just to support her developing boobs. This dress for an 11 years old girl, although she's on the big side, but she doesn't have that much of boobs, so that is why I'm using this soft wording for her. You know that on this pattern there are no allowances that we added when cutting our fabric, so we are going to add those same allowances on this pattern. Okay, on this wording when cutting. So on the side, on that part where the wording, the half side of the center front is going to be added, you're going to add just half-inch allowance. Okay, that is all. So for the lower part, this is my lower part, the skirt part. Okay, that is the flare part. I'm going to cut in half circle and I'm going to cut in excess as well. So I just, my round waist measurement is going to be times by 2. Okay, or you add as much allowance that you need. So after adding it by 2, you just divide it and then cut the front separately and then cut the back separately. Okay, that is, there will be an excess cut half flare on the front part and an excess cut flare for the back. You already know that the back is going to have 2 pieces. Okay, for the zipper. So that is that for the lower part. Okay, so I've gone ahead to cut my lining and also paper stay for both lining and the main fabric. Okay, so my paper stay is a total of 4 for my lining and for my main fabric. Okay, so these are all the patterns that I've cut. This is my lining for the lower part as well, and my lining for the main fabric for the lower part. Thank you for watching and come back for part 2. Bye bye.